What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're going to be jumping into something kind of cool. European theme parks are next level. It's coming at us from Michael. Definitely go over and show Review Time some love if you enjoy the content. I've already hit the sub button. I've already hit the like button because it's probably going to be epic. Let's see what we got. Much love to Michael for the request. Let's go.
This is Phantasialand. Located in Brühl, Germany, on a plot of 28 hectares, a fraction smaller than Disneyland in California, the theme park attracts roughly 2 million visitors per year and contains some of the most fully realized themed roller coasters and attractions in the world. It is a picturesque and beautiful resort that resides in the middle of nowhere, inside a town of just under 50,000 people. This is Energylandia. Located in Zator, Poland, the theme park opened in 2014 with just 3 roller coasters. As of 2021, it now has 17 roller coasters, and next year it will open its 18th and 19th coaster, just shy of the world record of 20, and is among one of the top 10 most Googled tourist destinations in Europe, alongside the Eiffel Tower and the Colosseum. Efteling, Europa Park, Port Aventura, Tivoli Gardens, Gardaland, and Alton Towers. These are all incredible, world-class, and innovative leaders in theme parks, which happen to be based in Europe. For many people, including myself, we see—
Man, you have the best voiceover voice ever, Dom Lacey. Like, I literally could just listen to you speak about anything forever.
Quality theme parks existing within a bubble branded by Universal and Disney. Whilst other theme park operators are able to create lightning in a bottle sometimes, for most of us, the immersive themed experiences that come to mind when thinking about quality theme park attractions are those that can take us to Hogwarts Castle or a galaxy far, far away. In the United States, the theme park industry is a beast that rests on the shoulders of giants like Universal and Disney.
Yep.
There are plenty more parks beyond those, but the ultimate destinations, whether through actual experiences or clever marketing, are perceived to be with these said giants. But in Europe, Disney is just another fish in a very, very big sea. Universal and Six Flags are almost nowhere to be seen.
That's because Americans are blind to it all.
The majority of parks are independent, privately owned, or family operated.
We do have some smaller parks, though.
Without this corporate backing, you'd be left to believe that European theme parks are a thing that you can miss out on. But the industry there is thriving and innovating at a pace that almost no other continent can keep up with. So that brings us to the question.
That looks terrifying as shit.
So good. Let's explore that on this episode of Review Time.
Yo,
I'm your host, Dom.
Dom, you are the best host ever. Legitimately, your voice.
Good. Is it the rides, the theming, the uniqueness, or a combination of all of those factors? Goodness is inherently subjective. It's guaranteed to change from person to person, which presents the elephant in the room. Am I biased? There are hundreds of theme parks in Europe, and I have only visited a slither of what is to offer. Just like every industry, you are guaranteed to have your good and your bad. But the more I explore what is to offer in Europe, the more I am genuinely impressed by what is out there. Adversely, it could just be that theme parks in Europe are a breath of fresh air against the ultra-commercial, branded intellectual property havens that exist in the Western world.
Let's say if you haven't been to a smaller theme park than like Disneyland, you gotta get out more. Like, you gotta go check out some other damn parks. Even in Paramount's Great America, where I live, that was a great place to go. Disneyland, it's fun once when you're young. But nobody wants to go to a place where you're standing in line for a single ride for 2 hours, 3 hours. Nobody has that kind of time. When you start going to these smaller parks, Six Flags, all of these type of things, like, the lines are shorter because less people go to them. It's more fun, or just as much fun as Disney, for sure.
European parks promote the idea of escapism, allowing you to distance yourself from the mundanity of everyday life to discover new worlds, stories, and possibilities. There was a novelty in the early days of exploring your favorite brand in a theme park, but now it's so heavily oversaturated that any opportunity to escape a possible cross-promotion is a welcome change. But beyond a possibly biased subjectivity, there are also facts that don't add up for me. Things that make me question what the Western world is doing wrong, and what Europe is doing right. Let's start with exploring the ease of traveling around Europe. Firstly, Europe is a continent, not a country, and included in that area described as Europe are roughly 750 million people. Specifically for this video, we're going to be focusing on countries that fall underneath the European Union, and that contains roughly 450 of the 750 million people. I'm also including the UK because it's my video and I can do what I want. Within the EU
I love it.
Is a
That's perfect.
To travel. You are able to leave one country and go to another freely, so long as it's also within the EU. This makes tourism a breeze, so the first conclusion may be that European parks are so great because they have the luxury of so many people, but oddly enough for many theme parks on the continent, that's not the case. In 2019, the top 20 most visited theme parks in Europe saw a combined attendance of 64 million guests. Now that seems like a lot, but in comparison to the United States, it was comparable to the top 4 theme parks, which also saw 64 million guests, and 3 of those were within Florida alone. Out of the 25
Universal
most visited
Studios,
theme parks in the world,
Disney
only
World.
4 of them were in Europe, and 2 of those were Disney theme parks. Even though the EU has a substantial population, theme park attendance is relatively low compared to places like the United States, Japan, and China. This isn't an entirely fair comparison though. Places like Walt Disney World and Universal Studios in Florida, a state which alone saw over 90 million attendees at its theme parks in 2019, are advertised as worldwide theme park destinations. A lot of people fly into Orlando, visit some of these theme parks, and fly straight out without visiting much of the United States. In comparison, there's nothing really like this in Europe. Some could argue that maybe Disneyland Paris is similar, but realistically, it doesn't have enough to support just flying into France for the theme park and then leaving. It's a 2 to 3 day experience at most, and for most people, Europe is really far away. Extending on this, theme parks in Europe appear to be complementary to travel than actual destinations themselves. On average, they're smaller and cater to families, which in the US is a market dominated by Disney and Universal. Regional operators in the United States such as Six Flags, Cedar Fair, and SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment, who hold a vast majority of the other top amusement parks in the US, know that they can't compete with these behemoths. So instead, they dedicate themselves to primarily thrill rides and attractions, which draws in teenagers, young adults, and couples. Unlike some resorts, a majority of European theme parks aren't designed to trap families for weeks at a time, like in Orlando, as there is so much to see and do outside of these theme parks that people want to do shorter trips to them as part of their travel and not base their trips entirely around them. Whilst Disney and Merlin have a fairly strong foothold over the family market in Europe, a lot of theme parks beyond these major operators create comfortably balanced parks for everyone. It's not uncommon for these parks to have world-class dark rides with animatronics, immersive theming, and innovative technology. I'm about to slaughter some names, but Symbolica at Efteling, Basilisk at Legendia, Mouse A Chocolate at Phantasialand, Tomb Blaster at Chessington World of Adventures, and Challenge of Tutankhamun at Wallaby, Belgium. Many of these parks also have imposing roller coasters, but keeping their focus on more than just one demographic is a nice change of pace. It allows them to capture both families and thrill seekers, but because people aren't going for weeks at a time, they can
This
go and have a
video
satisfying
make it
experience
dizzy, though.
and then head on their way, exploring Europe. Now, just because their parks don't attract huge amounts of visitors doesn't mean that Europe's geography doesn't give them an advantage. Firstly, it means that those Europeans that are interested in theme parks have the bonus of being within close proximity to a lot of them. It's fairly inexpensive to travel across Europe once you're there, and at the time of recording, you can fly between the two largest theme parks in Europe, Europa Park and Efteling, for $75 US. But there's a consequence to this: competition. The density and ease of travel around Europe means that if somebody doesn't like what you're offering, then you can easily move on to the next theme park.
Yeah.
Oftentimes,
I could
locals
see
may
that.
not have a choice, but travelers certainly do. And for any park wanting to be taken seriously, this means that they need to be thrifty about what they're offering. This thriftiness can come from companies they work with to create and manufacture their attractions. B&M, Mack Rides, Intamin, Vekoma, and Zamperla are 5 of the most prominent theme park manufacturers in the world. It is likely that if you visited a theme park at least once in your life, then you've ridden one of these manufacturers' rides, and they're all based in Europe. This makes working with these companies a lot easier, with many of their rides
That's
also
very
being
cool.
manufactured on
My father also, when I was growing up, my father worked in a place where they manufactured some of the engines for the water attractions at one of the theme parks near our house. Like, it's very cool. Like, to know that a lot of the parts that we get, most of the, or all of the damn parts that we get, could come from overseas. Like, I never even think about that. You don't think about where does this come from? Where does this rail system come from? Who designed it? Like, we don't really think about those things. That's more the big park, the whole macro view picture of things. And I'm more down in the, okay, look, we got to go be Harry Potter for the day.
And they're all based in Europe. This makes working with these companies a lot easier, with many of their rides also being manufactured on the same continent. It means that the logistics of getting the attractions to their parks is nowhere near as expensive or problematic as it would be to ferry the attractions across the world. This proximity can promote beneficial relationships for both parks and manufacturers.
Now I can
Take,
see
for
that.
example, Phantasialand. With only 2 million guests per year, not even making Europe's
This
top
place
10,
looks
it was
amazing.
able to create a fully realized and immersive land depicting a steampunk city around an incredible prototype flying roller coaster from Vekoma called Fly. This roller coaster wouldn't look out of place in a Disney or Universal theme park, yet it's hanging out in rural Germany. Whilst details and statistics of the ride are closely guarded by the theme park, there is some credence to the idea that Vekoma helped to fund the attraction at Phantasialand. The ride system used for Fly is a prototype for a new generation of flying roller coasters. It features brand new trains and loading procedures which solves many of the logistical problems present in the current models. By pitching in, Vekoma has an opportunity to promote the attraction and use it as a functional sales pitch for those interested in purchasing the roller coaster model, whilst Phantasialand can use the saved funds to enhance the aesthetics around the land and ride. Things are even better for Europa Park, the second most popular theme park in Europe after Disneyland Paris. Their parent company is Mack Rides, which means that they get the best of both worlds. They are able to create world-class attractions for themselves and sell those to theme parks around the world. We are seeing this with Steel Taipan at Dreamworld in Australia. This is a brand new roller coaster in Australia with an almost identical track layout to Bluefire, which opened at Europa Park in 2009. Dreamworld has customized the ride with a new triple launch, but beyond that, it's almost identical. Now, when it comes to theming, on average,
Look
theme
kinda
parks in
similar to
Europe
one of the
have
ones
a
back home.
much higher standard across the board compared to their worldwide counterparts. Now, this could possibly be for similar reasons as to why Disneyland Paris's castle is the way that it is. Since Europe is home to the castles that inspired Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty Castle at the US parks, Imagineers were required to reimagine the castle concept. Instead of being realistic, the idea was instead to be more grandiose and fantastical. Europe is a gorgeous, picturesque continent filled with both natural and man-made beauty. Its history fills the landscape with distinct architecture,
cool
including
mountains.
castles, and these historic attractions are often free to view by just visiting the many towns, cities, and landmarks around the continent. This means that for both tourists and locals, the standards are exceptionally high. They're not going to settle for lackluster theming when the real world already provides such a fantastical experience. But another benefit is that
got a lot of
European
good
theme
points,
parks are
Dom.
generally smaller to their international counterparts, which means that they have less area to work with, which can help to reduce costs. So are European theme parks better? Or are they just different? For the most part, European theme parks seem to be more bang for your buck.
Yes, no kidding. You will get into any kind of a smaller theme park, even in America, for pennies on the dollar. It's what you would pay to Disney
Their lower
or
attendance
Universal.
go further. They're more innovative beyond just trying to break thrill ride records, and their standards seem higher on average.
That's a cool
They
little
also seem
Coliseum.
smaller and less grand in scope.
That's really
the lowered
cool.
importance of intellectual property in most theme parks around Europe is a breath of fresh air. And even without this, the industry has shown steady growth over the last several years, whilst Disney, who are pretty partial to having intellectual property in their parks, has actually seen a decline in attendance.
Because
Whilst
it's too
COVID
damn
has made
expensive.
things difficult for the entire industry, I'm excited to see how Europe bounces back from this. Now, do all of these things make European theme parks better? Well, that's a matter of opinion. But the fact is that Europe is different, and many international theme park operators could learn from this thriving industry.
Yeah, they could.
From the home of all things theme parks, I'm Dom for Review Time.
Dom,
Thanks for
we
watching,
love you.
liking, and subscribing.
Hey, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to let this run so his amazing patrons can definitely get their screen time as well. Go over, show Dom some love over at Review Time. We're already subbed up. We've already hit the like button. You should too, because it was a very, very well done little explanation with a lot of really, really good things that we don't think about a lot. Very, very cool indeed. I'm definitely going to be checking out some more Review Time. Go show some love. Hit the like button if you liked it. The dislike button, but I won't believe you. Check out the other video up there. One of these guys up here. Till the next one, highly combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe, living to the moon and back. Peace.